More than 30 years after two young women and a teenage girl were murdered in Albuquerque, a middle-aged man comes forward to get something off his chest, admitting he was the killer. News 13 investigative reporter Gabrielle Burkhart obtained Paul Apodaca's chilling confession. A warning, the details he shares are disturbing.
It's taken me so long to know how much pain I've caused to this woman that perhaps didn't understand that.
This moment last July was the moment detectives and victims' families had been waiting for decades.
After years and years of contemplating and searching, I understand all the pain that I've caused, and I feel it for families, for people that I've murdered.
Lapel video shows this Albuquerque police homicide detective didn't immediately realize she was interviewing a possible serial killer.
I came here with the understanding that you had information on some homicides, but I did not know that you were talking about yourself.
Paul Apodaca, now in his 50s, had just been picked up by University of New Mexico police. Homeless and possibly suffering from heat stroke, he wanted to talk to police.
So I'm going to read you your constitutional rights.
Apodaca goes on to confess to 3 unsolved murders.
I murdered Althea Oakley, and a girl that was crossing the bridge on Central.
In June of 1988,
we need to know what happened from the time she left the fraternity house to the time we found her.
21-year-old UNM student Althea Oakley was walking home from a party when she was attacked by a man with a knife near CNM, stabbed multiple times before her assailant ran off. Apodaca says he learned on the news later that night that Oakley had died. He says that was his first murder.
When she died, it seemed like nothing else mattered, and I just kept doing it again because it was like I could not do any more harm.
Apodaca worked as a security aide at TVI at the time, now CNM. He says he saw Oakley walking and followed her with the intention of raping her.
That's why I had in mind.
Aside from a sketch and witness accounts of a man who took off, police didn't have much and the case went cold. Then in September of 1988,
she was found shot to death near Tingley Beach on September 9th of 1988 while walking with a friend around 1 in the morning.
13-year-old Stella Gonzalez was shot and killed. At the time of his confession, Apodaca described the killing but didn't know the victim's name.
What did she look like?
I couldn't tell at that range.
How did you kill her?
I shot her.
The following summer, July 16, 1989, 18-year-old UNM student Caitlin Arquette was shot to death as she was driving home on Lomas near Broadway.
Caitlin Arquette apparently was the victim of a random traffic shooting.
I saw her at Lomas and Broadway. She continued to drive forward until she lost consciousness and hit the telephone pole.
Arquette's murder was one of the most high-profile cold cases in the city over the years.
Albuquerque police say they have very few clues in this case.
She wants to be a doctor.
Arquette's mom, Lois Duncan, the author of I Know What You Did Last Summer, also wrote the book Who Killed My Daughter, a book Apodaca says he read.
It's a lot of years to carry that around.
It's a shame that it's taken so much to bring me to this point.
Apodaca also confessed to raping other women. He was sentenced to 20 years in 1995 for raping a young family member. And since his release, he says he struggled to come forward about these crimes.
Why did you do it?
I had anger in my heart against women. Resentment.
Why?
Because I've always seen men treat women bad, and they have all the women, and I tried to be nice, and they never appreciated it.
He says his actions, motivated by hate, were evil and dark, and referred to the Word of God and his struggle to accept punishment.
God is forgiving. I've come to realize that I don't deserve to be forgiven.
Gabrielle Burkhart, KRQE investigates.
That same day, homicide detectives took a DNA sample from Apodaca, then researched old case files, returned to the crime scenes, and worked to make sure Apodaca was telling the truth. Tomorrow night, Gabrielle Burkhart brings you part 2 of what APD is calling a miracle confession from a serial killer.